Hello, and welcome to day 2 of my adventures in Geneva, Switzerland. Today, the CERD committee, that's the Committee on the Elimination of Racial Discrimination, officially opened its review session. In addition to the United States, the committee is reviewing El Salvador and Peru this week. I'm right now sitting in front of the Palais Wilson, one of the 2 UN buildings where this week's activities are scheduled, and it's right across the street from Lake Geneva, which is very beautiful. So I wanted to take this opportunity to talk a little bit more about CERD, about the convention itself. 2 provisions of the convention address the issue of access to justice. Article 5 states that state parties must undertake to prohibit and eliminate racial discrimination by ensuring equal treatment before tribunals and other organs administering justice. Article 5 also talks about social and economic rights, like the right to housing, work, healthcare, and education as being an important part of the elimination of racial discrimination. Obviously, access to counsel is important in ensuring the enforcement of these rights as well, although the U.S. generally does not recognize social and economic rights officially. Now, in addition to Article 5, Article 6 of the Convention says that state parties shall assure to everyone within their jurisdiction effective protection and remedies through competent national tribunals and other state institutions against any acts of racial discrimination which violate his human rights and fundamental freedoms contrary to this convention. And Article 6 also states that people have a right to seek from these tribunals just and adequate reparation or satisfaction for any damage suffered as a result of discrimination. In addition to the actual articles of the convention, sometimes the committee releases what are called general recommendations or general comments. So the committee has released one general comment. It's called General Recommendation 29 that clarifies that parties to the convention must, quote, take the necessary steps to secure equal access to the justice system for all members of dissent-based communities, including by providing legal aid. So that's one place where the committee has actually spoken about access to legal aid. And as I mentioned in my blog post yesterday, the committee's 2008 concluding observations expressed concern specifically about the disproportionate impact that the lack of, quote, a generally recognized right to counsel in civil proceedings has on indigent persons belonging to racial, ethnic, and national minorities. And the committee also recommended that state parties allocate sufficient resources to ensure legal representation of indigent people belonging to racial, ethnic, and national minorities in civil proceedings. And they encourage that specifically states provide access to legal counsel in civil proceedings where basic human needs are at stake, which includes housing, healthcare, or child custody. And of course, those are actually some of the areas that the ABA has recommended that civil counsel is necessary in its 2006 statement on the need for civil Gideon. So I also wanted to mention that access to justice is one of the issues that the CERD committee specifically identified as a focus area for this year. So we're feeling optimistic that they will take our advice to heart and include some specific comments and questions about this issue. So my colleague from the Columbia Human Rights Institute and I spoke after the session this morning about specific committee members we were hoping to target with information about our issue. And it's very important that the committee members ask specific questions about access to justice, or else the issue won't show up in the committee's concluding observations. So I just actually heard from her that she was able to speak with one of the committee members in the cafeteria this morning, and that committee member was very interested in our issue and said that they were going to ask a question about it. So that's very exciting. So today I had an opportunity to speak with a number of advocates working on a lot of different issues, and it really demonstrated to me that all of these issues relate back to access to justice. So I was speaking with one woman who specifically works on the issue of involuntary mental health treatment, and we were talking about how important it is for the people she works with to have access to a lawyer when they're trying to get a court order to overturn a coercive treatment a course of mental health treatment. So it really demonstrated to me that access to counsel in civil cases relates to so much of the other work that is happening here. It's really a cross-sector issue that impacts most people dealing with basic human needs issues like housing and healthcare and child custody and a number of other areas. I also today, the last thing I'll mention is had an opportunity to work with an amazing activist from Wisconsin on a short statement and list of questions that we're going to ask of the U.S. government in a special U.S. government consultation with civil society organizations that's happening tomorrow. So that was exciting, and I'm looking forward to that session. Anyway, so. That's all for today. I'm going to an event tonight that is called State of Human Rights in the United States, where movement leaders who are directly impacted by human rights violations are going to speak a little bit about their experiences and recommendations. So I'm really looking forward to that event. And I'll give you more updates tomorrow about what's going on in Geneva. Thanks.